All right, to get started with, let's look at the grip for one. The left side is what we're going to start with, and there's a reason for that, which I'll go into more detail when we get on the right side. You're going to want to pick the grip with this little notched area. It's fatter on one side than the other, because that's what keeps it from spinning inside of the switch control housing. So to get started with, we got to take the odometer switch off, and then there's a bolt at the top and bottom that we take off to get the housing opened up. To get this switch off, there's not a tab or anything under there, but if you just take a screwdriver and lightly push up, try to get my fingers out of the way, and pull out, it just slides off like that. Okay, so first we're going to take off this upper bolt. It's a T25 until it loosens. It doesn't actually come out. There's a lock on the inside that keeps you from dropping it. And then we'll go down to the bottom and take the bottom one out. All right, then we're going to take the lower one off. Same way. What that allows you to do is to take the front housing off. And we're actually almost halfway there at this point. So to get this back part off so we can get the grip off though, we have to loosen these two screws here as well. And okay, so this is a T27. We're going to loosen those. That's also going to cause your master cylinder and your mirrored tip, so you'll have to readjust that later. Okay, so once you get it loose, you don't actually have to take it off completely. All you're going to do is loosen it so that it gives you enough play to be able to pull your grip off. Now all you do is just kind of pull here at the end and rotate your grip and pull it off. Okay, before we put the new grip on, need to look at it. You can see that there's a notch here where this side is bigger than this side of the grip. That's done on purpose so that when you put it on, it actually sets inside of the switch control housing. There's a notched area inside of the outer ring here that this will sit in. What that does is it keeps the grip from twisting on you. So like dirt bikes or some of the rubber Harley stock grips that come on here, they have to use grip glue to keep them from twisting. With a replacement grip, it has these notches. You don't even need grip glue because once you tighten your switch control housings down, these notches set in place and it keeps the grip from twisting. Okay, so when you get ready to put this on, this bigger part with the notch goes towards the bottom, so it's like a U-shaped. Now it's also going to get to a point where it kind of stops. That's because there's these not grooves but like teeth in here, and they're plastic, and it holds the end from moving around, so you'll have to push on that to get it in at that point. So like right there it got hard. So then we're just going to pull this apart a little bit. We're going to twist slightly as we put it on. Now the way you know if this is seated properly is you can look at your actual electronic housings here, and if you turn this while you kind of push on it, you can see how it popped into place. If I loosen it again and I turn it like that, you see I can't compress it to where these little tabs fit into those tabs there. But if I turn it, see how it popped in? Now I know I've got the grip in the correct position inside of this outer housing. Okay, so once you get the grip seated where you know that it's in place and this electronic module here can fit inside the housings, you're going to want to put the other part of the cover on because you don't want to twist this back into place because it'll pop off the grip and you'll have to readjust the grip in again. So once you somewhat tighten the housings together, if you rotate this to readjust your clutch and your mirror and master cylinder, the grip will rotate with it. Okay, so we're just going to start down at the bottom, and I'm going to hand tighten that bolt that we took off, that T25 Torx, and then we're going to come up to the top and do the same thing. That'll just set the housing around the grip at this point, because now we can turn the entire assembly and adjust it to where we want it again for our comfort level, and the grip will turn without coming out of that notch. To adjust it, you just grab the grip, put it back into place. Mine's been here a while, so I even have a mark on the handlebars where I can't get to it when I wax, so I'm just going to put it in the same place, and then we'll tighten these two bolts, and that'll hold the whole assembly in place again. Okay, so now we're going to tighten that upper bolt and the lower one. And what you're going to want to watch here is you're going to want to make sure that your housing pulls together and seals together right here. If it doesn't, and if you're having to turn too hard, then you've probably got your grip out of that notched system that's in here, and you need to pull it back apart and rotate the grip in the housing until it falls back into place again. So we're just going to do it by hand right now until it gets tight. That's good, and you can see it closed up real well. And then we're going to do the bottom, and you do the same thing. You look for this seam to close up when you tighten the bottom as well. Okay, so we're just going to tighten this one down. There, it's pretty tight, and you're going to look at your seam, and my seam is shut, so the grip was put in the correct position. Now we got to torque everything to specifications. Torque these. It's supposed to be 72 to 108 inch-pounds. I've got mine set at about 90 inch-pounds. There we go. Then we got to torque these to spec as well. Okay, then we got to torque the upper and lower switch housing bolts to 35 to 45 inch-pounds. There you go. There's the upper. There you go. There's the lower. Last thing to do is to put your odometer tab back on, and just put it on, slide it, it'll click, and you're done. Now your grip is complete, doesn't turn, and you're ready to do the next side. We're going to go through this side real quick until we get to actually installing the new grip, because disassembly is the same. It's the two upper and lower switch housing bolts, and then the two bolts that hold the entire assembly on. So we're not going to record all of that. We're just going to do it real quick and get the housing off. Okay, so once you get the upper and lower housing bolts off, the rear part of the housing will come right off. Now again, you don't have to take this all the way off. Just loosen it. You're just going to want to loosen enough so that your grip can come off. At this point now, obviously you can take your grip off. This one comes off a lot easier than the other because you don't have that notch with a big notch on one side and a smaller on the other. So just pull it off, and that's all there is to getting your grip off. This is your twist grip sensor, or your electronic throttle, or your throttle by wire. It's got lots of names like that. This is, and it turns, and that's what gives you your throttle action. So the reason why we do the right side second is because when you buy a grip, the grips are made for a certain style. So let's say you buy a grip that has an angled outside like this. If you put this one on and you get the angle wrong, because this can go on 180 degrees anyway, whereas the other side can only be put on one way, you might have like one angle going this way and the other one might end up that way, and then you would have to take one side off to adjust to match the other. So by putting the other side on, because it's a fixed position, then when you put this one on, before you tighten things down, you can rotate it to where you want it to be so it matches the other side. Okay, so before you put your new grip on, go ahead and wipe this down. One of the common questions I get is, do you put any kind of lubricant on the handlebar? And the answer is you do not. If you refer to your service manual, it simply tells you to install the new grip, and you do not put anti-seize lubricant, oil, or grease, or anything to that effect. Just leave it clean and leave it dry. So here's the new grip. Inside of here, probably won't be able to see it on the camera, it's just hard to get the light in. Inside of there's some gear notches that will fit into this, and really literally all you do is you slide the grip on, and you'll feel them grab, like there it is. And then you adjust your grip to match the other side. So on mine, the Avon's going up. Okay, so when you get ready to put this back together, obviously you can move it in and out. You're going to pull that into place. Then if you pull out, you know that the notch here is set inside of the housing, and at that point you can hand tighten the two master cylinder housing bolts to hold it into place. So we're just going to hand tighten those. And then, like I said, from waxing and stuff, I have a mark on my bike, so I'm going to turn it back into the position that it came off of. There we go. And then I'll hand tighten it just so it won't spin on me. All right, now we're ready to put the outer housing back on. Okay, now we're going to put our outer housing back on. Just put it on there, and then we'll put these two screws back in to hold it together and tighten it to a torque specification. All right, put the upper one in, just like the other side. Put the lower one in. And again, you're going to want to look at that seam. Make sure that that seam is closing up properly. Okay, at this point, we're going to tighten the master cylinder assembly bolts first, and this is where you're going to adjust it, you know, up or down depending on your needs, how you want it. So I've got it kind of based on the wax points that were under the master cylinder, and then you're going to torque at 72 to 108 inch-pounds, or according to your service manual for your bike. That's why you need a service manual. I've got mine set for 95 inch-pounds. There we go. And then we'll torque the upper and lower switch housing bolts as well. And then these are, again, same as the other side, 35 to 45 inch-pounds. Okay, there you go. Okay, last thing is, now that you've got it on, make sure it doesn't come out, which it shouldn't, as long as you got the that ridge inside of the housing, the switch control housing. The other thing is you're going to want to turn it, make sure it snaps back, so that you know that these teeth inside of the grip met with the gear on that twist grip sensor, and it's going to give you the throttle action that you need. Anytime that you deal with your switch control housings and you're getting into the electronics or even exposing them, just make sure that you go through your controls, so like horn, blinkers, and you'll check the front and the back. All right, so that was the total process of just installing new hand grips on a Harley Davidson touring bike with electronic throttle. It's a great way to customize your bike. It's a very inexpensive way too to increase the comfort level, especially from the stock Harley grips, if that's what you have on there. Or if you wore them out like I have after 90,000 miles on a set of grips, it's about time, because you'll notice it under your fingers. I encourage you to go check out Get Lowered Cycles at getlowered.com, because they have a whole bunch of grips from a lot of manufacturers. So there's a great amount of customization options to choose from for your specific bike. Be sure and click the subscribe button so you can keep up to date with videos as they come out, and visit my website at rideitwrenchit.com.